Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Karens. In today's episode, I wasn't disabled enough for an entitled Karen's liking. Commander Karen, the Rainier Cherry Cop. Time Travel Karen. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. I wasn't disabled enough for an entitled Karen's liking. I went on a road trip a few weeks ago with my husband. I unfortunately sprained my ankle very early on in the trip, so I had to get around with crutches and later, a cane. We go to one of the campsites we are staying at, we get checked in and are in the correct spot, confirmed by park management. An RV pulls in next to us an hour or so later. A woman gets out and approaches my husband saying we were at their campsite. He doesn't know what to say or do, but thankfully the woman was whisked away by her husband. I guess there was a mix-up with their spot and they ended up getting one without electricity or water, can't remember which one. Instead of taking it up with management, it somehow became our fault. They walked past our tent at one point where the lady was angry, whispering to her husband that it was their spot. He told her I was probably disabled, so they should leave it alone. She says that I'm not disabled because I'm not in a wheelchair. I held my tongue because it wasn't going to help anything by starting a fight. I was visibly walking around with a cane, but since it wasn't a wheelchair, it didn't matter. It's like something out of Curb Your Enthusiasm. My husband did offer to trade places with them, but the other husband said no. He seemed like a really nice guy. I felt bad for him. But that seems to be a normal dynamic, calm and patient husband with a crazy Karen for a wife. She nagged that poor man the whole time. Did you get a disabled spot because of your ankle? Why would it matter if you were disabled or not? It's because we were one spot closer to the restroom than they were. Honestly, I don't see how it really plays into it. I think he mentioned that to shut her up, but it just made it worse. I was not in a disabled spot. It's just a temporary injury, so I was just dealing with wherever we were put. Yeah, they love to pull this shit. Another big favorites of theirs is the too young to be disabled. Because, you know, disability has an age requirement and all/s. You get bonus points for looking younger than you are, too. I'm disabled and the rudest to me are always women. I have never once had a man be rude to me about my disability. Very sad how many women treat other women like crap. I'm so sorry this happened. Who are all these nice guys marrying Karens? I just don't get it. Because they weren't always Karens. It's the recessive Karen gene that kicks in after so many years of marriage. There's no way to detect or predict it until it erupts into a full-blown Karenism, and before you know it, she's disrupting school board meetings and lecturing the neighbors about their landscaping. There's no known cure other than a lobotomy. Or involuntary manslaughter. In my experience, she got used to getting her way because I was very go with the flow and didn't care enough to stand up for my preferences. Then she started expecting to get her way, and then things get out of control. My only question is, what keeps couples like that together? I could never be in a relationship with a Karen. I love when people decide someone is not disabled enough, totally makes sense. Commander Karen, the Rainier Cherry Cop. I love Rainier cherries. They only come in multi-pound unsealed bags. I live alone. I only buy 10 to 20 cherries at a time. I grab a few out of the 2 to 3 pound bag, weigh them and pay for them. Up comes Cherry Cop Karen, shrieking, "You can't do that." Me, do what? CCK, pick through all the cherries. Me, I'm just grabbing a few because I can't eat 2 pounds, none of her beeswax. CCK, you can't do that. I'm talking to the manager. Surprise, surprise. CCK, he's picking through all the cherries. Manager, in the most politely dismissive tone, but ma'am, what if he doesn't have a big household and only wants to buy a few cherries? CCK, you can't do that, caw. Caw. Face red. Me, I'm still gonna. CCK storms off. Manager and I calmly look at each other and shake our heads. Grocery store manager here. I reassure those concerned that yes, it is okay to buy just a handful of cherries. They are indeed priced by the pound. Sanitation-wise, I hope you all wash your produce before consuming. However, there is a special place in hell for those who sample a cherry and spit the pit out onto the floor. Yes. I can't stress enough how gross it is to find cherry pits in the tomatoes and black streaks all over the floor. I love Rainier cherries. Now I have to get some, and yes, I don't buy a big bag either. Those things are pricey. There's like a major shortage of them where I am. My work is literally selling tiny bags of them for $9.99 per pound. It's absolutely insane. I've tried to convince the Wisconsin side of my family that the Rainier cherry is awesome, but they refuse to accept anything but Door County cherries. They're in the pocket of big Door Country cherries lobbyists. Hubby and I do this all the time. Grapes, cherries, anything in an open-top bag is fair game. We've asked in several places and are always told to use one of the stock-produced bags and take only what we need. One manager looked at us funny and said, "Well, yeah, that's why they're in an open package like that." And hail fellow colleague, nurse in ICU during the pandemic. Same for me buying avocados. It was Taco Tuesday and I wanted avocados I could eat a couple of hours from now, not a few days from now. I was searching through to find two with a bit of ripe softness, but the ones on top were all light green and hard. A little old Karen sidled up beside me and told me I wasn't allowed to feel them. I said I'm looking for ripe ones. She said that's against the law. I guffawed and she stormed away on a huff. Still searching for the particular no feeling the fruit statute. Pro tip, the person stocking the bananas just kind of makes sure they look reasonable in bunch size. See the perfect bunch for your needs, green, ripe, past ripe, whatever, but only need two? Just take two. 0 non-Karen persons will be offended by this. I use shallots at home a lot. After 20 years of cutting them in restaurant kitchens, whenever I buy them for the house, I like to have to completely round ones so the dice is more uniform. About OE out of every 20 shallots is like this, so I dig around a bit. I had a woman, maybe the same produced Karen, make a scene a while back and ask me if I was going to touch all the shallots. After a long day or dealing with Karens in restaurants, I calmly looked over at her and said, "Probably. Unless you want to help." I feel like someone is going to confront me someday over my habit of doing the same with red onions. Not my fault so many of them look to be beat to hell and back, and I'm looking for one that looks like it'll be decent. Time travel Karen. I work as a night auditor at a hotel. I get a lot of Karens, but this experience was exceptionally memorable. Upon arriving to work, my coworker informed me there had been a noise complaint from a couple celebrating their anniversary on the second floor. Apparently, their neighbors were being loud and fighting, so my coworker called the room and there was no answer. She went to the room and it didn't even sound like anyone was in the room. So she basically kept an ear out for any further noise or complaints. Fast forward an hour into my shift, a man comes to the front desk complaining of the same problem. I follow the same procedure, and when I get up to said room, I hear faint talking but nothing more. By the time I get back down to the front desk, Karen has arrived and looks very agitated. "Why haven't you called the police?" I explained to her that I'm not hearing what they're hearing and there haven't been any other complaints. I also explained that the hotel is old and the walls are very thin. I offered to move them to a different room, but they seem to get even more angry at this. I ask what I could do to make them happy, and no shit, she says this. I want the girl that was here earlier to have called the police when we first complained. That's what I want. Those people ruined our anniversary. So, do you want me to call her at home and get her to call the police? I'm not following here. No. I want her to call them when we told her earlier. I'm sorry, ma'am, but I'm not capable of turning back time. We don't have a time machine. Then we want a refund. I am not authorized to give a refund, but I can let my manager know and he will do that at 8 a.m. Nope, we're leaving now and want it now. Finally, I gave up and called my manager at 1 a.m. because I didn't want any further complaints from other guests. Of course, she gave us a bad review for not having the ability to rewind time to her liking. They basically were a couple of locals wanting to spend some time away from the kids and got a free room until 1 a.m. with pool tickets to an expensive pool. Oh, and the couple next to them? They ended up being newlyweds that were literally just having a good time. Ugh. People like this are simply looking for something, anything, to complain about. She would have been genuinely disappointed if she didn't have something that wasn't to her liking. I see this when I go on vacation. There is always that one guest who lives to complain, and often drags her whole group down with them. This is why destination wedding reviews almost always are bad. You should have some earplugs at the front counter to give to people like this. To be honest, the Karen probably complained because they were newlyweds and got jealous of them rather than trying to scam for money, though you would probably know better since you see a lot more of these type of people than I would. But that is only because I like throwing narratives on everything. I assume they got to their room after a mediocre date night and saw the newlywed couple in the lobby/hotel bar having a good time, which made the couple have a worse time. I hate people who don't like seeing others have a good time, because they are insane lol, and then decided to try and ruin their night by having the cops kick them out of the hotel or something. Sorry, I'm confused. There were 2 noise complaints, no? If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.